Alright, welcome to another day of working on this TJZ GTE Aristo swapped Supra. We've got some leaks that I'm working on today. So if you're ever building a 2J, you'll notice and you're going to singles from the standard twins, there's this stainless steel pipe that comes out of the back of the water pump here, and it runs along the engine and comes down, and what you've got here is your heater hose, which is the one that's heat wrapped at the moment, but there's also another outlet there that I've just plumbed up with a bit of sealant and a bolt and a hose, because I'm not going to take this out to weld it up because it's a engine out job. So that's on there now, and I had to replace it because I was using these things, which are absolutely terrible, and they last about 6 months at best. Focus here. And you can see how they crack along the top after going through a whole bunch of heat cycles, and what will happen is they'll eventually split and you'll have a awesome coolant leak. So I've replaced that, and I've also had a couple of other leaks here that you can see where the coolant's been dripping out, and it's been coming from this, where the O-rings were on here, which I've removed and cleaned. This was all filthy and covered in blue sealant similar to this, which isn't that ideal, but it works usually. So I've got to get 2 new O-rings, and then that sits in here. Oh, and here's another little outlet at the bottom of the water pump that I'm going to have to do, and I had to remove one of those nipples off. You can see it's been leaking there. And then this one, in the Supra world they call this the upper radiator neck or water pipe, and this connects to the top radiator hose there, as you can see, and you've got your water temp sensor here, and these 2 outlets were for the factory twin turbo setup. Now they're fine if you've got the twin turbos, but when you go single, unless you have a water-cooled single turbo, these are useless and you have to block them off. I also had a couple of those nipples on here, these ones here, and you can see it's getting pretty tired. It's because they just made of silicone, not rubber. Anyway, so what I've got to do is get these cut off, weld it up, and I'll probably repaint it black again, clean out all of that, clean these surfaces for the new gasket and O-rings, and yeah, the original issue was I had an oil leak. I knew I had these coolant leaks for a while. They didn't really bother me that much because they weren't that major, but I had an oil leak running from my turbo drain outlet, which is here. So this is my turbo. It's a Precision 6262 Gen 2, or billet things and that. It's roller bearing, and this is only oil cooled. So you got your oil inlet here from the oil line, runs through the cartridge in the middle, and it comes out this hole here, which is when it comes out, it's quite a fine sort of mist or sort of bubbly, milkshakey sort of consistency, because it's quite high pressure as it goes through the top of it there. Now there's a gasket that goes on here, and that had been damaged, and it had been leaking for a while, and it took me a while to figure out where it was coming from because it's all fairly new gear. Don't have many kilometers on it, and that connects to this. And then this runs down and connects to the sump in the engine. Now this fiberglass was just saturated in oil and it was filthy. I've cleaned it all now and put some steel cable ties on the end to just make it look a bit neater. This is just here to protect the hose from the heat because it runs right down next to the exhaust manifold. I was going to replace this because this drain flange was... I didn't install this. When I got my exhaust at the exhaust shop, I got them to do this, and this is just an eBay spec bit of aluminium with an AN fitting on the end. These are Aeroflow AN lines, but I was going to get from Boost Lab a square machined to match that port outlet on there, but shipped to Australia it was $100, and I was like, well, I'm not paying $100 for a flange. So that was the original issue. And I thought, well, while it's out, I might as well fix everything else out. That's little and annoying. I also cleaned my throttle body because it was getting sticky. You can tell it's quite a bit brighter than this. Yeah, I took it all apart. Put just a whole heap of throttle body cleaner through it. Took this off, the throttle position sensor here. But what was happening was if I got on the throttle and then let off slowly, just at the end, if I didn't get off quick, it'd get caught up, and I'm pretty sure on this side, because I could push down on it and idle would go back to normal, about 1800 instead of like 1200. But there was a little sort of dampener that sat underneath here that was pushing on this, so I haven't driven it yet since I've taken that off, so hopefully that makes an improvement. I replaced this clamp and this one because this kept blowing off. I need to redo the piping. That can wait though. I'm only running 14 pound at the moment, so that's not a whole lot of boost to be pushing through a 2J. It's quite alright. It was just a dodgy clamp. Otherwise, yeah, I've just got to do these other ones and get these gaskets and put it back together. And I'm also getting, I'm waiting on the arrival of some heat wrap. So I got 2-inch wide, I think it's 12 or 24 foot, I don't know, roll that I'm just going to wrap this whole downpipe in to try and mitigate a bit of the heat that's being produced here, because it's causing issues with engine temperature. Well, not issues with engine temperature, but it's hotter than I'd like it to be, and in an Australian summer it's not ideal. So I'm trying to get this as cool as possible. Yeah, that's about it. So the car will be off the road for, I don't know, another couple of weeks, I'd imagine, while I wait for all these parts to arrive and get everything together. I've also got a whole new set of interior clips to go in to make all my plastics fit properly and not rattle and do all the boot and everything. It's all pretty good at the moment, but I'd just like to replace some of them, and it's missing a few, so it should be quite a bit better when that's all done. Oh, and I also fixed my I don't know if there's a common issue on Supras. I haven't seen this often on Super forums or anything, but there's a piece of plastic that runs through the inside of this rubber, and it's if you get caught up on this, it'll pull it up and it'll break it, and then this sits out here and it looks quite ugly. I've just super glued that plastic back together and held it in there, and it's quite a bit better than it was. But I'll probably end up replacing this and this surround eventually anyway, so I can make it look a bit neater with the T56 Magnum and get a whole new boot and things like that, shifter boot. I'm also getting some red footwell neons, bring back the 90s, baby. Yeah, so, I might be getting maybe in the next few weeks after I do all this stuff, I'll get a carbon fibre cooling panel which will go across all this. and help with airflow into the engine and keep it a bit cooler. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers.